One of the things QCAA will want you to do is be able to produce a mind map right at the start of any project so that you can actually get your head around what it is the project entails. So to do a mind map, there's no need to put the words mind map at the top of the page. If you can't tell from a mind map that it's a mind map, there's something wrong. So I would start by just simply writing something like Ryan's song. Now again, in design, everything we do, we should probably look at icons. So what I'm doing now is like a musical staff. And I'm going to put a musical note on it, something like that. Now don't forget, if you're not musically inclined, you can probably Google these. But there you go, what musical instruments look like. And I've just noticed that we're a little bit out of focus. Let me try and fix that. That's a bit better. So we start with the main concept on the inside, as we do with every mind map. Now, QCAA isn't hard and fast about how you do your mind maps. I'm going to do like a traditional mind map here today. But if you have a look at the IA1 exemplar from QCAA, it's a very different page. And you can have a look at that. I've put it up into your OneNote for you. So, Ryan's song. Number of things we need to think about. One of the things we need to think about is what I like to call the format. So the format actually is that we're creating a movie poster. And again, rather than just write words, we're going to draw a movie poster. Something like that. Ryan's song, and it's going to have other information on it. The next thing we're going to be doing is a book cover. And you can think of the book cover as being something like that. You have been asked to do the front and back book cover. We'll just worry about the front here. And the third one, just notice that's still a bit blurry, sorry about that. And the third one, of course, is the social media. Add. Media. Add. Now, there's a couple of different options for this. It could be a small panel that goes horizontally like that, what we call landscape, Ryan's song, etc., etc. Or it actually could be a portrait. And I'm sure you're familiar with those sorts of words, landscape and portrait. Anything that sits down side by side is a landscape. Anything that's up vertically like these three, they're portrait. Next thing we could probably think about is what fonts are we going to use? And there's a number of different fonts that we can use, but I'm going to say that we need a maximum of 2 fonts. If you ever mix fonts, sorry, I'm going to try and fix this again. That's a bit better. Maximum 2 fonts. Probably the title of your book, your poster or whatever, will be in one font, a nice big impactful font, and then the rest will be in another very simple font. So we want a maximum of 2. Now I can think of the 1960s style, 1960s, 70s styles of fonts. I know that anything related to military, there is a font that they used to use to stencil onto boxes and things like that. And that font is quite well used for a TV show called MASH, and a movie, but the TV show called MASH. So we'll have a look at those fonts later on. So the MASH style font, I'm going to call it, doesn't have to be called MASH. You can call it stencil. And I think if you do searches for fonts online, you'll actually come across a lot of these. Another font that they use quite extensively in those times is a bubble font, where each letter is sort of a little bit curvy and a little bit bubbly, like it's been inflated. So you've got fonts. Another thing you can think of, and I'm not going to complete this, I'm going to get you to complete all the details on this, but another thing you can think of is the icons or iconic images from the Vietnam War. And I do know that there's the Huey helicopter, obviously soldiers, anything you can get for soldiers of the era, Vietnam national dress, perhaps. Vietnam dress, I'll just put. And you can flesh these out and you can do your own sketches and things like that for them. And we'll start again. Sorry, my computer went to sleep. So we're back again. We were talking about the Vietnam national dress. You can Google that and see what it looks like. I think of it as like a white sort of 3/4 length sleeve tunic and black 3/4 length pants. We'll have a look at those later on when I show you what we do with research. And the other one is actually the hats that they used to wear, quite frankly, in the rice paddies. And they were a very flat conical hat that was often, well, not often, it was woven out of reeds and things. So you could draw a little icon perhaps like that to show the hat. All of these sorts of images are images you can also add in there. Now that's to do with the war, but of course there's also Ryan's story. So Ryan was a musician, so you could use any images out from music. He particularly played guitar, so you could use a guitar image, all as inspiration for the artwork for the book, the poster, etc. So there's all sorts of images. There's also the protests. And so you might include protest, there were heaps of protests while the soldiers were in Vietnam, but especially when they came back from Vietnam. And so the protests often held, protesters often held sort of, placards. So you can use that as one of your images or one of your icons. They often use the peace symbol on those placards, and make love, not war. Let's put that down there. Make love, not war. And so the idea is we're building up our mind map, and don't forget all of these are going to need little icons or whatever. Music is an easy one to do. You just do a musical note, something like that. There you go, colour that in. There's a musical note. A guitar would be easy to draw as well. But there's other things you need to think of. You need to think of colour schemes. So colours. We've got icons, we've got formats and fonts. So the idea is all these central concepts eventually will bring you to a whole series of ideas of things that you're going to be looking at. Next thing we're going to look at will be actually having a look for these on the internet, all of these sorts of things, particularly these icons and fonts. We'll have a look for those on the internet, and I'll show you ways that we can take what we find on the internet, either print it off and trace it, or if you're really clever, you can trace it straight from your computer screen. But I've got a couple of other techniques that I'll talk to you about in the next video. Thanks.